Hello everyone. I'm getting a lot of questions regarding PhD admissions, and there are inbox is literally filled with DMs. My Instagram, my emails are flooded with questions and things like that. So today I am doing a video regarding that. If you are looking to get admitted for PhD, then by the end of this video, I promise that you will be well versed with the entire process, whether it is written exam or interview preparation. You will have all the information required for you to get admission for PhD. This will be an important video. Stay tuned and please do not miss anything. I am in a different location. My house is getting renovated, so I have shifted to some other place for shooting this video. The audio visual equipment that I'm using is of a different kind, and I'm testing a new stuff at the same time. So please excuse me if there is some background noise or things like that. This is not my usual setup. In today's video, I am going to speak about the entrance test. If you are taking admission for PhD, what would be the format of it? What is the structure? What is the mark scheme? Is there any negative marking? And what would be the strategy to avoid negative marking if there is any? Also, we would be discussing about the interview format, what are the different types of questions that are being asked and how to answer it, what are the different etiquettes that you have to keep in mind while being present at the interview, and is it required to have a work experience to give a PhD interview? Are those with work experience being given more preference? Regarding that, then let's discuss that as well. Also, I have summarized the questions that I've got from you on different platforms, so I would be speaking about that as well. So, without further ado, let's begin. The first component of the PhD admission, for any PhD admission in any university or institute in India, is the written test. Now, one thing I want to make it clear, most of the universities have done away with their own written test and they are adopting the national test. However, if you are taking admission to BITS has still not done away with their institute admission test. We would discuss briefly about that. The format for different departments is different. So first, let's discuss the format for biology, chemistry, mathematics and physics. Let's understand what are the different things that we need to keep in mind. So there are two tests which happen over here. The first test is common to all disciplines. When I say it is common to all disciplines, I am speaking about biology, chemistry, mathematics and physics. It is of 1 hour. There are 30 multiple choice questions. Multiple choice questions meaning one question you have to pick the correct one and the rest you can ignore. General science, quantitative reasoning and aptitude, analysis and research aptitude. These are the topics where you will be questioned on. Each correct answer will get 2 marks and zero point 0.5 marks will be deducted if you answer in negative. Thing which you cannot ignore. There is negative marking. तुक्के मत लगाना इसमें. I will come to strategy part, but first let me discuss about the marking scheme. The next test is discipline specific. Means if you have, say, suppose chosen physics as your department, then all the questions would be related to physics. It is subject based and these are also multiple choice questions. However, the number of questions would be 70. Negative marking as usual, 0.5 marks would be deducted for wrong answer and each correct answer would fetch you 2 marks. If you have cleared any national entrance exams and you have got JRF, then you are exempted from this. However, if you have cleared any national entrance exam and you have cleared it in lectureship, you have got LS, you have to answer this entrance exam as well, because the purpose of entrance exam over here is to select candidates to get their own fellowship. So when you have JRF, that means you already have your fellowship, right? So you don't have to give another entrance exam for that purpose. If you are applying in humanities, social science or economics, Then your test 1 would comprise of reading and comprehension, logical reasoning, analytical reasoning, and general awareness. Test 1 would be MCQ based, test 2 would be subjective. So if there is subjective thing, then there is no negative marking. Let's see what is the system for management. For management also there are two tests. However, your objective test, which is the first one, will be of 2 hours. It would have 75 questions. They would be multiple choice questions and they would be testing three things: verbal ability, data interpretation and logical reasoning, quantitative aptitude. Your test 2 would be 1 hour and it would be subjective. Your questions would be based on application. These would be analysis kinds of question and they would be based on business and management. Basic fundamentals of business and management you will be questioned. Most of the institutes or universities carrying out their own entrances usually do not provide question papers, okay? And since I'm from BITS, I have been getting a lot of questions about whether past question papers are present. BITS does not provide past question papers as of now. I have also inquired in the administration. So what happens is during the exam they will give a paper. On that only you have to mark and you have to give it back. You don't get a question paper to keep it with you. One thing I would like to request you is stick to syllabus. Avoid doing anything outside syllabus. This is not the time for that, and even if you have time, I would recommend sticking to syllabus. Stick to the units which have been asked. Now, what are the different types of questions which are asked? In any PhD entrance exam, there are two kinds of questions which are asked. First is the why type questions. Let's understand what is that. On your screen, you have a question. One of the following is not the quality of a researcher. They have given 4 options and you are supposed to pick one. You are supposed to pick one which is not correct. So the question over here is pretty straightforward. There's a question, you have 4 MCQs and you are supposed to pick one, whether it is correct or whether it is not correct, but you have to pick one. Whole strategy is to first select which is not correct. So my recommendation is look at the options first. Look at the options first. Here I am saying unison with that of which he or she is in research, must be of alert mind, keenness in inquiry, assertion to outstrip inquiry. So basically this is a test 1 question. Our mind is designed to spot negative. Okay, if you have a blank wall also and whole entire wall is painted with, say suppose, orange color, and there is a small tiny dot of black color, you are going to spot the black color. Instead of going against the flow, you go by the nature of mind. There are 4 questions. Try to find out which one is false. Now here in this question, we are lucky that in the question itself, they have asked what is not. Okay, what is not? So what is false, they have asked. So go through first 4 questions. Now you have identified assertion to outstrip inquiry is not correct. Now you go back to the question. One of the following is not the quality of a researcher. In this case, assertion to outstrip inquiry is not the quality of a researcher. Now, what if this question was choose the correct answer? Then also you go by all the 4 questions. There would be one answer which would be correct and many false, but you find out the false ones. You find out the false one, you tick mark in pencil over there which option is correct, which option is false. Wait, go back to the question and see what is asked. If it is asked choose the correct answer, you know exactly that you have got the answer. Okay, this is how you select answer for Y type questions. Let's move on to the next category, which is YZ question. According to UGC regulations to 2018 for prevention of plagiarism, which among following similarities would constitute level 3 plagiarisms? So they have given 4 options. The question does not end over here. There is another question which is linked to it. Choose the correct option from below. So this is the question. A and B only, B, C, D only, D, E only, E only. If a question is asked like this, there is tendency for students to get confused. And I'll tell you, these are the easiest questions. Even the first Y type questions that I've seen, it looks small, but these are pretty tough questions. These are the easiest questions, YZ type, and I'll tell you how to answer. For this question, you need to know the facts. So if you are not aware of UGC Regulation 2018, you won't be able to answer. Assuming that I've studied this, let's go through the question. 38%, 54%, 63%, and 71%. If you go by UGC Regulation 2018, you can clearly see that D and E are the correct answers. When D and E are the correct answers, A, B, and C, these are the false options. So, first step would be taking a pencil and putting a strike at A, B, C. You cancel this out. Now, D and E is there in which of the options? The first one, the second one, the third one, or the fourth one. So, it is the third one. So, this is the way you answer MCQ questions which are of YZ type. Now, how do you deal with general aptitude, quantitative reasoning, numerical aptitude? What students think, I'll tell you where the mistake is. They think it is all about maths, it is all about numbers, it's all about numbers, it's all about maths. Students are weak in calculation, so they will not even attempt the first test. Okay, here now compulsorily you have to attempt, but even if they attempt, they will write something. This section is about logic. It is not about numerical. Even if a numerical is asked, it will be asked in such a manner that you will not require a calculator and you will have to mentally find out the answer. So, for part A, there are two books that I have referred and I have found immense usefulness. First is Quantitative Cat or Quantum Cat. This book will cover everything with respect to numericals, with respect to general aptitude, with respect to quantitative reasoning and analysis, general aptitude, everything. This covers everything. Not just for this exam, but for all the exams. For most of the entrance exams for PhD, including CSIR NET, including UGC NET, there is a section or a paper which is dedicated to this. So this book will help you with that. The next resource is by an author called as Christy Vergis. If you are somebody who wants everything concise, you want to go through it in a short span of time, then you can go for a book by Christy Vergis. These two books, if you go through it and if you are able to solve the problems on it, which you will if you dedicate even 10-15 minutes a day, okay, that is sufficient for part A. You are sorted with respect to this section. How to go about test 2. Now this is specific to your discipline. Even if you go through syllabus, there is so much that you have to cover. One thing I would like to suggest is go through NET question papers, NET, okay, NET, NET question papers, and attack part B. Avoid part C. Part B will test your memory, and in PhD entrances, your memory is tested rather than your application. I have spoken to scholars who have answered these questions, who have given PhD entrances in other institutes as well as in BITS, and I know for a fact that if you go through part B of NET exam, whether it is CSIR or whether it is UGC, you are sorted for test 2 of BITS entrances, and if you are answering any other entrances, then you are sorted for that as well. Also, I would suggest going through GATE question papers of your discipline. That would also be quite helpful. One thing about PhD entrances is that there is negative marking. So you can't, so to avoid negative marking, this is the mindset that I would want to suggest. Avoid guesswork. Brain versus heart, use your brain. Just because a question has given correct answers for the first one doesn't mean that for the next one also the same thing would be true. PhD एडमिशन के बाद हार्ट दिखाओ, अभी के लिए सिर्फ ब्रेन पे रिलाई करो. A lot of times the strategy that is used for entrances is elimination. Whatever you can eliminate, you eliminate. I would like to go one step ahead and I would like to say that try to reject all options. One question is there, four options are there. Your aim should be to reject all the options. And whatever you desperately cannot reject, then you go in for that one as the answer. Let's see this with an example. Here I have chosen a question from biology. Which one of the following enzymes does not catalyze the oxidation of substrate by reducing the electron acceptor NAD+? So if you go through the options itself, you can easily make out that this is from Unit 1 and it is from TCM, Krebs cycle. And this question was asked for CSIR Life Sciences, December 2023. The question over here is using the electron acceptor NAD+. So let's sort out all the reactions and see where NAD+ is used. In lactate dehydrogenase, it is used. In pyruvate dehydrogenase, in some reactions, if you recall, it is there, it is not there. So let's just keep this as a backup, pyruvate decarboxylase. Third one, succinate dehydrogenase. In this, FAD is used. Okay, so this also we will keep as a backup. In the fourth one, isocitrate dehydrogenase, NAD+ is used. If you see in most of the questions, two answers you will be able to eliminate, two options you won't be able to eliminate. So now let's look just at 2 and 3. For pyruvate dehydrogenase, sometimes in reference books the NAD+ is not given. Maybe that pyruvate dehydrogenase is the answer. Succinate dehydrogenase for sure uses FAD+. If you know anything about reactions, either they are using NAD+ or FAD+. So if I'm sure that it is FAD+, that means NAD+ gets cancelled. So if you go through multiple choice questions and go through the options over here, lactate dehydrogenase correctly uses NAD+, pyruvate dehydrogenase maybe, succinate dehydrogenase maybe, isocitrate dehydrogenase correctly uses. Okay, we shortlisted 2 and we found out that pyruvate dehydrogenase uses NAD+. However, succinate dehydrogenase do not. So you will put cancel over there. Once you put cancel, now you look at the question. All this you have written in pencil. Now you look at the question. Which one of the following enzymes does not? Does not. Okay, we don't want questions which are true. We want something which is false. You have to, in pen, tick mark the answer, which is third one, succinate dehydrogenase. So first you go with pencil and just for options write whether it is right or wrong. And in the second stage, you will correspond with the question and with reference to question, write your final answer in pen. This is the most useful hack that you can do and you will get this with practice. Now while explaining and you are hearing for the first time maybe, but it will give you clarity for answers like this. Also, one thing that helps over here in entrance exams that I've seen is you start with easy answers. Secondly, there are few patterns. Now, if in biological sciences you have a question, something happens always. So usually whenever always is there in an option, usually it is false because biological systems are very dynamic. It's not like physics. In physics, any law which is there on land, it may occur in water, it may happen across individuals. But in biology, the system is very dynamic. Which discipline we are applying to, what kind of paper it is, what is the subject, and that also helps you to pick the correct option. If you are going for any entrances which is offline where you can mark, then pencil, eraser and pen, these three things should be there. Instead of going for how many questions you answered, you go in for an accuracy score. Number of questions answered correct by total number of questions. So if say suppose there are 10 questions, you have answered 3 correct. So it will give you just 30%. Say suppose 10 questions are there. You have answered 9 correct. Then it will give you 90%. So instead of aiming for answering all the questions just because you don't want to miss out on anything, it makes sense to answer those questions which It makes sense to answer those questions which give you correct answers. You solve 5 questions today. However, you aim that all your 5 questions should be correct. Okay, that is how you improve accuracy score, and improving the accuracy score is the way to go if you are targeting any entrance exam, especially PhD with a negative marking. Moving on to the next part of PhD admissions, which is interview. Now, today morning you give test, mostly by evening you will have the interview, or max there would be a 1 day delay. If you have got through written test, your 80% of the job is done. Now, where the interview will come in place is choosing the right lab and choosing the right mentor. For this, it is crucial that you go through the profiles of all the scientists, of all the faculties, and see which one you like. As far as the interviews in BITS are concerned, there will be a classroom. In that, where students are sitting, there the faculty would be sitting. Okay, all the faculties of the department. You will be coming ahead and giving your introduction. Okay, that's how BITS interviews work. In other universities and institutes, there are usually a panel member of 3 to 4 individuals who will be sitting ahead, and you will have to make an entry and give an introduction. There are 3 kinds of questions which are normally used for PhD interviews. First are personal questions. Let's take an example of a personal questions. First one is introduce yourself. This is the most common question and the one which will be the icebreaker for your PhD interview. Why did you choose this university and a research topic for your PhD if you are clear on what work you want to do? Now, one thing that is often asked is what did you do in the gap year if your education was not continuous? Like for me, after masters there was a break for a couple of years and then I took admission for a PhD. In such cases, you have to be ready with an answer that you will provide as to how you are going to go about this. What are the most recent developments in your field and how do they influence in your research, and why do you want to pursue a PhD? I will give you an example of how I would introduce myself. Good morning, my name is Atiya Sheikh and I hold a master's from Bangalore University where I specialized in biotechnology. My academic journey has been about a curiosity to understand complex systems and try to solve real world problems. Over the course of my studies, I have engaged in research projects where I have investigated the production of cellulase from Bacillus subtilis and its application in protoplast isolation. This experience honed my skills in laboratory techniques, technical writing, and I was fortunate to get an opportunity in future projects such as evaluation of antimicrobial, antidiabetic, and antioxidant activity from leaf extracts of Catharanthus alba, which has further acquainted me for microbiological techniques, which will prove to be a solid foundation of my work. Outside the lab, I enjoy reading, which helps me maintain a well rounded perspective. I'm excited about this opportunity and I look forward to contributing meaningfully through my research. This may come across as a very flowery introduction, but you can definitely shorten it as per your thing. The point that I want to stress over here is the format. First 2 lines could be an introduction of your name and from where you have done your master's, or if you are taking admission based on your bachelor's, then you can introduce that. Then you can go in with internships and job experience if you have any. If you do not have job experience, then if you have participated in extracurricular activities or any activity related to your subject, that you can highlight over here. In the last paragraph, I have said I enjoy reading. If I have said I enjoy reading, then if a question is asked on which books I have read, I have to be prepared for an answer. Moving on to subject oriented questions. Subject oriented questions test your technical expertise. Now say suppose I have applied in physics department. The project that you have done, and if you have got any skills related to that, the questions that would be asked would be on 3 levels: what, why, and how. What is the work that you have done? How have you got the result? And why did you do it? When I say why did you do it, why have you chosen this particular specimen, this particular atom, this particular molecule and things like that. Opinion oriented question test your independent thinking. When I say independent thinking, it is news based. News based also are two types of questions. First is, if you are going to bits, then you should be really thorough with the profiles of the faculties which are present, that I have mentioned already. Also, as a whole, BITS has a lot of collaborative projects with most of the universities and institutes in the world. Really helps if you are aware of it. This information you will get from their BITS website. From BITS main website, not BITS admission. BITS admission is specifically for admission from the BITS website. If you are an applicant from other universities, you are trying your hand in, say, suppose other institute like Indian Institute of Science or a local university which is present near your location. In such cases also, it helps to get in touch with people who are working there. It helps to go through the website and keep yourself aware about the latest happenings in that particular university. Also, latest happening which are present in your field. Say suppose if somebody is applying in an environmental engineering branch in some university. In such cases, it helps when you know about the news because it connects you with the subject. Suppose there was a pollution case in that area and authorities have taken some steps over it, and you want to do environmental engineering, then it helps if you mention that you are aware of this incident, what authorities have done, and how it can be done differently. This shows that you are aware of the latest happening. I have seen, because of this question, faculty picking students like this. Now, what are the different etiquettes that you have to do? First thing that I see most doing is, when you are asked a question and you don't know the answer, say suppose you don't know the answer, avoid smiling. It shows that you are embarrassed. It's okay if you are not aware of it, but at the end of the day, no interview is bigger than you. Your knowledge is already tested in written test. They are not interested in knowing how many molecules which are present in this particular reaction, how this law works, and this. They are interested in knowing you as a person. If you are coming to a different location for your PhD admission, it helps obviously to come one day prior. Okay, and especially if you are coming to BITS, with respect to food and water, BITS has cafeteria, there is mess and things like that. Food and water should not be a problem if you are coming to BITS. Please contact a guest house if you are coming to BITS, and also see if you can get accommodation in BITS hostel. Okay, these two things that you can check. If you are getting, then well and good. There's no need to spend on expensive hotels and all. One thing I want to stress is carry earphones. A lot of times an interview is scheduled, say suppose in morning, because of some reasons the interview gets postponed to 2 o'clock in the evening, to 3 o'clock in the evening, and things like that. So in such cases, you can't be roaming around here and there. If the interview is getting delayed, then the faculty comes and says you can explore the campus. But when you are new to anything, you don't know anybody, it makes sense to stay near the interview location. Carrying a book or carrying a earphone definitely helps. Dressing sense would be to dress professionally and looking put together. Avoiding experiments. So I have seen a lot of candidates who they usually wear salwar kameez or trousers and things like that, women, but for interview they will wear sari when they have not worn sari for their entire life. This will really put you in a stressful situation because you are not comfortable. I don't see the requirement of a blazer or a tie for a PhD interview. It's not that you are going for conference. It could be well ironed. Women can go in for a salwar kameez or cotton sari if you are already wearing these things. Okay, avoid last minute experiments that I've said, or trousers and shorts. Men can go in for button down shorts with trousers, formal shoes. This is important for men. Tie is optional. Whether it is for PhD interview or whether it is for job interview, it makes sense to carry self-attested copies of your documents. Okay, self-attested meaning you take the Xerox of the original document, sign at the bottom, and you will write, this is a self-attested copy of the original. One resource that I want to suggest is by Coursera. It's a course. It is Art of Job Interview. So if you are really into job interviews and PhD interviews especially, then you can go in for this. You can audit the course to view it for free. So a lot of times I have seen students getting confused because they get this complex. Now there will be net qualified which are with you GRF qualified, and you may not get a preference. If you have got the call for interview after the written test, that means your chances are already there. Okay, before your written test your chances may be 50-50, but now it is like almost 90%. So instead of thinking in that manner, you can just be aware of the statistics. Whether it is BITS or whether it is any university, are institute fellows. So you can see the ratio of around, say, suppose 70% fellows which are institute. Rest would be on different entrances and toppers like Inspire Fellowship. Then you have ICAR Fellowship. Then you have Prime Minister's Research Fellowship, CSIR Fellowship. So you have no reason to think that you will not get selected. Second question I'm getting is whether work experience is required for PhD. As a rule, if you go by rule, work experience is not required. And I want to suggest master students, if you are watching this particular video, do not wait to get job and then go in for PhD. See, if you are targeting BITS, I'm giving the example of BITS again and again because I'm studying over there and I know how this functions. So this gives an idea to all the other universities as well, how the PhD admissions are happening. If you are aiming for BITS, so far BITS has not adopted the National Common Entrance Exam. Okay, now earlier UGC NET or CSIR NET used to be for LS or JRF. From this year it is for PhD also. If that happens, if BITS adopts the national one, your competition will increase. In such a scenario, if you are in masters and your target is research or academia, I was teaching in a college as assistant professor for a couple of years, and I happened to ask one of my students what he wants to do in future. He told me clearly he wants to do a PhD in immunology in Germany. So that is the clarity. If you have that clarity that you want to go into research or you want to go into teaching or academia, a PhD is a must. Whether you do part-time or full-time, a PhD is a must. Nowadays the competition has increased so much that it is the base qualification. Earlier, if somebody had PhD, it used to feel like you are somebody else. Like I stayed in Bangalore for a couple of years. Every 10 person you meet is a PhD. Okay, so the competition is increasing every now and then. Take admission for PhD. If you are not getting it, then you go in for a job. But if you strategize your PhD admission well, then you are definitely going to get admitted for PhD. Are non-net eligible? This I have already answered. One question I have been getting is whether questions are easier than net or no, especially if you are targeting BITS written test. So the questions are definitely easier than CSIR or UGC net. Also, I have compared the syllabus for most of the entrance exams and it is quite manageable. The key over here is trying to avoid negative marking. So that's all I wanted to say for today's video. PhD admissions are at peak and it may feel really scary to go to a new location to answer the written test and interviews. But there is nothing to panic about if you plan it well and if you follow these strategies. There is no doubt. There is no doubt that you won't be getting selected. I think I've pretty much covered everything, but still, if there are any doubts, then let me know in the comments. Till the next time, bye.